Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
When was the last time you said yes and meant no? When was the last time you smiled through something that was quietly breaking you? I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it honestly. How many of your relationships right now are draining you more than they're filling you? Maybe it's a grown child who still calls you only when they need something. Maybe it's a friend who takes and never asks how you are doing. Maybe it's someone in your life who crosses lines and you keep forgiving them, not because you've healed, but because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. If any of that landed somewhere deep in your chest just now, this video is for you. Today, we are going to talk about something that Brené Brown has spent decades researching. Something that most women your age were never taught. Something the world actually needs you to understand right now. We're going to talk about how to set hard boundaries. Not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of a quiet, unshakable love for yourself. Stay with me, because by the end of this, something is going to shift. Can I just say something to you first? You have lived, really lived. You have raised children or supported others raising theirs. You have navigated marriages, losses, friendships, careers, heartbreaks, and healings that most people can't imagine. You have held families together with your bare hands. You have been the steady one, the strong one, the one everybody calls. And somewhere along the way, probably so slowly you didn't even notice, you started disappearing. Not all at once, just a little bit more each year. A little more silence when something hurt you. A little more accommodation when you were already overwhelmed. A little more pretending everything was fine when everything was not fine. Brené Brown talks about this in her research. She says that many of us, especially women who were raised in a certain era, were taught that being a good woman meant being agreeable. That love looked like sacrifice. That I need was weakness. That speaking up for yourself was somehow selfish. And so we learned to be everything for everyone. And we did it beautifully. But here's what no one told you: that way of living has a cost. A quiet, accumulating cost. And the longer you go without boundaries, the more you lose not just your peace, but yourself. You are not selfish for wanting to reclaim that. You are as wisey. So let's talk about how. The first thing Brené Brown wants us to understand is this: a boundary is not a punishment. It is not a weapon. It is not rejection. A boundary is simply a statement of what you need in order to keep showing up. Honestly, lovingly, and with your whole self. Here is why so many of us confuse the two. Psychologists call it enmeshment. It's what happens when, over years and decades, our sense of self becomes so tangled up with the needs of others that we genuinely don't know where they end and we begin. We stop asking, what do I need? Because that question starts to feel foreign, selfish, almost dangerous. Think about a garden. Imagine you have a beautiful garden, and every day someone comes in and picks flowers. Not asking, just taking. At first, you let them because you love them. Then you let them because you're used to it. Then one day you look out and the garden is nearly bare. And the person is still reaching for more. A boundary doesn't lock the gate forever. It says, you may enter, but we must tend this garden together. When you set a boundary with someone you love, you are not pushing them away. You are creating the conditions under which the relationship can actually survive. That is not a wall. That is a bridge. Here is something Brené Brown says that stops people cold eye. You cannot be both clear and kind if you haven't first been honest with yourself. Before a boundary can leave your mouth, it has to live in your body. Meaning, you have to feel the violation before you can name it. And for many women, especially those of us who were taught to suppress discomfort, that feeling has been buried for a long, long time. There's a psychological concept called interoception. Our ability to notice what's happening inside our own body. Researchers have found that people who struggle to set boundaries often have a weakened interoceptive awareness. They've spent so long overriding their own discomfort that they've stopped hearing it. Here's what that looks like in real life. Someone says something that diminishes you, and instead of feeling hurt, you feel guilty. Instead of thinking that wasn't okay, you think, maybe I'm being too sensitive, and so you swallow it again. Brené Brown's rule here is this: before you can set a boundary, you have to get quiet enough to listen to yourself, to ask, what actually happened in me just now? What am I feeling? What did I need that I didn't get? This is not weakness. This is the most advanced emotional skill there is. Give yourself permission to feel the thing you've been pushing down, because the boundary lives inside that feeling, and you can't speak it until you found it. One of the most important and most misunderstood things Brené Brown teaches about boundaries is this: a boundary is not delivered with an apology. And I know for many of you that feels impossible, because you were raised to apologize, to soften, to cushion everything hard with sweetness so no one would be upset. But here's the truth that took me a long time to understand. When you hedge your boundary, when you say, I'm so sorry, I hate to do this, but maybe if it's not too much trouble, I was thinking perhaps, you are not being kind, you are being unclear, and unclear boundaries don't protect you. They confuse the other person, and they slowly erode your own sense of self-worth. Clarity is kindness. That's one of Brené Brown's most famous lines, and it applies to boundaries more than almost anything else. Think about it this way. Imagine a new employee starting a job. On their first day, no one tells them the expectations. No hours, no rules, no structure. That might feel kind in the moment, easy, relaxed, no pressure. But within weeks, that employee is confused, anxious, and making mistakes. Because the kindest thing a leader can do is be clear. The same is true in our personal relationships. When you say clearly and calmly, I can't accept being spoken to that way, or I need you to call before you come over, or I am not able to lend money anymore, and this is final. You are doing something brave and beautiful. You are giving the other person the truth, the actual truth, and you are giving yourself the dignity you deserve. You don't have to be harsh. You can be warm, but you cannot be vague. Courage here doesn't look like a battle cry. It looks like a quiet, firm sentence, spoken once and meant. This one is hard, but it is also one of the most liberating things you will ever understand. When you start setting boundaries, especially after years of not having them, the people around you will not all respond with understanding and respect. Some will be confused, some will be hurt, and some, the ones who have relied most heavily on your compliance, will push back hard. They will call you selfish. They will say you've changed. They will act wounded, angry, or cold. And every part of your nervous system will want to take it back, apologize, and return to the way things were. Brené Brown talks about this as the vulnerability tax. When we grow, when we become more honest and more boundaried, we often lose relationships or go through a painful renegotiation of them. And that loss is real. It deserves to be grieved. But here is what the research also tells us. In healthy relationships, truly healthy ones, boundaries are respected. Not perfectly, not without friction. But when you set a limit and the other person's primary response is to guilt you, manipulate you, or make you feel like you are doing something wrong, that is information. Not about your boundary, about the relationship. A therapist I once read about described it this way: if someone gets angry that you stopped burning yourself to keep them warm, that tells you everything. You are allowed to let that land. You are allowed to love someone and still say, this is how I need to be treated. And you are allowed to notice, quietly, bravely, whether the people in your life can rise to meet that. This is the rule that completes all the others. And it is the one that most people skip, because it is the most uncomfortable. Brené Brown is very direct about this. A boundary that has no follow-through is not a boundary. It is a request. And if it goes unmet again and again without any change, it becomes a kind of silent agreement. I will tell you what I need, and you don't have to honor it. This is what erodes self-worth so quietly over time. Now, a consequence does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to mean ending a relationship or cutting someone off. The consequence can be as simple as leaving the room when the conversation turns disrespectful, or not picking up the phone for a week, or no longer attending the family gathering that always leaves you hollowed out. The key is that there is one, and that you follow through. Here's the psychology behind why this matters so deeply. When we set a boundary and then abandon it under pressure, our nervous system registers that our own words cannot be trusted. Literally, our brain learns that the threats we issue to protect ourselves are not real. And so our self-protective instinct slowly weakens. We feel less and less capable of protecting ourselves, and more dependent on others to be kind to us, even when they aren't. When you follow through, even once, even imperfectly, something in your nervous system shifts. You begin to rebuild the trust you have in yourself. You begin to remember, I said what I meant. I meant what I said. I am someone who can be counted on by me. That is where your power lies. I want to say something to you before we end. You have spent so many years being strong for everyone else, and that strength is real. It is not small. The capacity you carry to love, to endure, to hold space for others, that is a rare and extraordinary thing. But strength has never meant self-erasure. The wisest women I have ever known, the ones who carry something true and deep in their eyes, they are not the ones who gave the most. They are the ones who learned at some point to stop giving from a place of fear and start giving from a place of fullness. And fullness requires a boundary. It requires you to say, this is mine. This part of me, my peace, my time, my heart. This is mine to protect. Brené Brown says that the most loving thing you can do for the people in your life is to be honest with them. And the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to finally stop betraying your own truth to keep the peace. You are not too old for this. You are not too late. In fact, there is something almost sacred about coming to this place in life, where the noise of what everyone else thinks begins to quiet down, and your own voice gets a little clearer, where you finally have the earned permission, the hard-won wisdom, to say enough. I choose peace. I choose me. You have carried so much for so long. It is okay to put some of it down now. It is okay to take up space. It is okay to be loved in the way you have always deserved to be loved. Now I want to hear from you. If something in this video touched you, if one of these rules landed in a place that felt true and important, I want you to do one thing. Go down to the comments right now and type Zcar's I am reclaiming my peace. That's it. Just those 4 words. Because when you write that, you're not just boosting the algorithm, you're making a declaration. You're saying, as I heard this, I felt this, and I am choosing something different. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, a sister, a friend, someone who has been quietly disappearing inside of their own life, please share this video with them. You might be giving them something they didn't know they needed. I'll be back soon with more conversations like this one. Until then, take good care of yourself. You deserve it.